many people do you see with two horns? Please help me. I have not seen a person with two horns. Have you? Huh? No, it doesn't. And that goes to show our flawed scholarship today. We don't talk about these things. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And look here on the slide. People believe that he has two horns because a translation of his name has gone viral. A person with his two horns. Qarnain could also mean horns. Qarnain could mean horns. And I'm saying it's so wrong because Qarn doesn't just mean a horn. Qarn also means what? A period of time. As you see here, century, horn, coupling, pairing, connection. This means two things that have a connection with each other. Okay? In the Quran, these are the 11 verses. These are the 11 times in 10 verses the word Qarn came. Look at the highlights. What is the translation? Generation or time. The Quran never used the word Qarn as horn. Never. In the 11 times in the 10 verses of the Quran where the word Qarn came, it meant a generation, a stay, a period of time. So Dhu means a person of, Al-Qarn means a time, Qarnain means double, Tasniya, which means a person whose impact of his work will be felt by two separate generations. A person whose work will have an impact on two separate eras. Does that make sense? Dhul-Qarnayn, a person whose work will have an impact and effect on two different people in two different times. I don't want to go down that road like some people say, like he could be a multiple person, he could actually live, continue to be alive. But continue. That's where, like people say Khidr. Khidr is still alive. He travels time and place. I want to keep it as logical as possible because this already is heavy enough for people to take. But I'll just say this much, that Dhul-Qarnayn, his work's impact will be on two different eras. And I'll prove that by the end of this one, inshallah. Right? So, what are those two generations? The one in which he stopped a cultural pandemic from plaguing the world. What were those people saying? Ya Dhul-Qarnayn, stop these people. Stop these people, right? So he stopped them. And the second is when those people who lived that cultural pandemic will break out into the world again. How did he do that? What did Dhul-Qarnayn do? He built what did he build? A barrier, a wall. So the thing is, they said, أَن تَجْعَلَ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَهُمْ سَدًّا. Can you make a wall between us? قَالَ مَا مَكَّنِّي فِيهِ رَبِّي خَيْرٌ. Allah's giving me enough money. I don't need your money. فَأَعِينُونِي بِقُوَّةٍ. Give me manpower, human resources. أَجْعَلْ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ رَدْمًا. They asked for Sadda, and he gave them Radma. Sadda means a wall that's never going to go permanent, the Great Wall of China type of wall. And Radma means something which will expire. Sadda could mean like lentils, dry lentils. They will never expire. Radma could mean like mayonnaise. Mayonnaise will expire. You understand the difference? Something which is restricted with the time. I'll explain that. So now, who is he? Who is this man? So many people, because I'm sorry to say this, our scholarship in Islam is greatly flawed today because we don't think outside of the reed. Well, our Quran didn't tell us, so why should we know? If the Quran answered the questions of the Jews which have no relevancy to our time, ask yourself, why should I not learn history? Why should I not know what the Bible is saying or the Torah? Why, you think you're going to convert or something? No, you should know. This is something the Sahabas did. They knew, they learned. The craving for knowledge is gone today. So number one, Dhul-Qarnayn doesn't have two horns. Number two, we're going to find out, is he Alexander the Great? So, I don't want to bore you with the story of this ancient figure of a man known as Alexander the Great, because according to history, there's so much to cover. But I will go through very simple things. Number one, Alexander the Great served as king of Macedonia from 336 to 323 BC. You understand that the timeline is going backwards, right? Because these are the years breaking down before Christ. So these were the years before. At the time of Rasulullah, before the time of the Nubuwah and before the Hijrah, they calculated time with Amul Fil, the incident of the elephant. So that's something separate. But during his leadership, he united Greece, reestablished the Corinthian League, and he conquered the Persian Empire. Conqueror and king of Macedonia, Alexander the Great was born July 20th, 356 BC, in Pella, the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedonia. During his leadership, he united the Greek city-states. He led the Corinthian League. He also became the king of Persia, Babylon, and Asia, created Macedonian colonies in the region. While considering the conquest of Carthage and Rome, Alexander died of malaria in Babylon, which is part of Iraq, on 323 BC. So between 356 BC and 323, how many years is that, everyone? 33 years. 33 years he lived and he ruled. This is a map, everyone, of Alexander the Great's travels. I want you, as you watch from Macedonia, his travels through Asia, through this part is the Babylon, this area is Babylon, this is Persia, which is known as Iran, this part is known as Afghanistan today, right? Just look at his rule. I want you to remember the green parts, and I want you to understand the orange parts. This part, it means he did not go there. Could you remember that, please? He did not go there. Do you all agree with me? Right? According to history, he did not go there. So looking at it according to a current map, look at the ancient map, look at the current map, this is where he was. He went from here, he covered this area, he covered the area of Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, right? But he did not penetrate past into Georgia. I just want you to keep that in mind, okay? Now, some pointers. He's the third of Macedon. He lived for 33 years. He was born to Philip II, the king of Macedon, and his fourth wife, Olympus. She was the favored one of his 7 or so wives. Alexander was the heir to the throne. He was tutored by Aristotle and trained in the Macedonian military discipline. Through his life, he was noted to be a great military commander. His road of conquest took him across the world, from his humble start in Greece, fighting rebellions of various small city-states, to toppling the Achaemenid Empire. And remember, they call this the world. Could you remember that also? This is called the world. This was the world. Where did all the prophets come, everyone? This area right here. So the world was just this. This is what people would consider the world when you talk about the world. I don't want to go through all this history. Really, there's no time. It was not longer after his death that the romances and legends that Alexander took hold of the world. He was a beloved person to the people. They say that he drank much wine. He had his bath, regarding his death, he drank much wine. After he had his bath, he called on his friend Medius to continue the night of drinking. It lasted the whole next day, whereupon he was struck with a fever. Okay? They say that he drank a bowl of unmixed wine in honor of Hercules, and after that, what happened? He got sick and he died. So now, this man who helped people, who was looked upon as a very noble figure, would he be drinking wine? Would he be drinking wine? Would he be partying and indulging in lusts and stuff, immorality? Because our entire religion, meaning the Jews, the Christians, the Bible, the Torah, the Psalms, the Quran says one thing about morality. It is forbidden in the Bible to drink. Okay? So, if I went through the entire history with you guys, slide by slide, you would have gotten bored by this, and I don't want to go through it, but I want you to read up on his history. That this was a man who was very strong. And on the eve of his death, this is important, on the eve of his death in Babylon, he stayed in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, who was the king of Babylon, was the longest reigning and most powerful monarch of the Neo-Babylon Empire. Nebuchadnezzar, I want you to remember that name. You know why? Because the world wants you to remember that name. Does anyone know what that ship is? The Matrix. And what's written on the back of that ship right there? Nebuchadnezzar, made in the USA, year 2069. These are not just mistakes. They make something. What did it say? 2069, right? According to Mark 3, chapter 3, verse 1, and whoever, though possessed by evil spirits, caught sight of him, the spirits would throw them to the ground in front of him, shrieking, "You are the Son of God." There is biblical context to all of these things. This is not just a mistake. Legends say that he's flying in paradise. He was searching for the fountain of youth and marching towards the land of darkness. He traveled to the bottom of the sea in a glass bubble. These traditions and romances and legends are found in many places. He is known by the pre-Islamic Arab Jews and Christians, Romans, Persians, and Indians. Everyone knows about him. So, I ask you quickly, can that be Alexander the Great? Can he be our Dhul-Qarnayn? In Daniel, it talks about King Belshazzar. All the talks about Nebuchadnezzar. We're just going to pass all of this. And it talks about the Iranian-Persian Empire. And what's front and center in our world today? Iran, for some reason. I'm not going to go into that right now. My conclusion based on history and research is that Alexander the Great cannot be Dhul-Qarnayn. The first and biggest hole in the fabric of this theory is Alexander himself. He was without a shadow of doubt a pagan, a follower of the traditions of his forefathers. It is mentioned by Plutarch in the Book of Olympus. Alexander's mother said the night that Alexander was conceived that she was struck in her womb with a thunderbolt. Again, the father of Zeus. She's trying to say Zeus of Olympus, which is an ancient Greek god, is what she's referencing to. They talk about the temple of Artemis, which is the temple in Western Turkey. I didn't go through the history with you, so you may be confused what this whole thing is about. It says that Artemis was a way to see the birth of Alexander, and at that time, when he conquered Egypt, he was taken to the oracle of the Siwa oasis, where he was pronounced to be the son of Amun, the Egyptian equal to Zeus. There it was a fair number of modern scholars think that Dhul-Qarnayn, Alexander's connection, comes as a coin what is shown with two horns because of his power, the power of Zeus and whatever else. So this ancient temple, while they were away, it was burned to the ground, right? It was one of the seven wonders of the world. That's what it looks like today. But they have rebuilt it in Turkey, and that's what it looks like now. And its historical site is still marked and preserved till this day. This was a place that was burned down after Alexander was born. Cyrus the Great of Persia is usually a second choice. Everyone, I don't want to go into history because this is a longer class, but do you understand that Alexander the Great cannot be Dhul-Qarnayn? Yes or no? So please read the history. You need to read on his history. The second person, as you said, Cyrus the Great. He was of Persia. There's something very unique about Cyrus the Great. Let's go through him quickly. This person, born in 598 or 600 in Anshan, which is part of Iran. This person was born to his father, Cambyses, the first king of Anshan, and his mother, Mandana of Media. His youth was no different from the others of noble people there. At that point, Anshan was the vassal state of the Median Empire. The Meds were the people of what is known today as northern Iran. It was in his youth when he married the love of his life, and she would go on to give birth to 5 of Cyrus's children. He was succeeded to the throne by his father in 559 BCE. 8 years later, his father passed away. Now, again, history. The one thing Cyrus the Great did, could anyone tell me what Cyrus the Great did? You should know. He helped? Thank you. Louder. I want that from you.
He helped the Jews.
How did he help the Jews?
He freed them.
From who? Okay, let's find out. He freed the Jews from Persia. Okay? There was a battle that took place not long after Cyrus marched on Babylon proper and occupied the city with little to no resistance. It is asserted that this was a total surprise to the population of Babylon as they were celebrating a religious festival. The turn of events led to Persia annexing all of its Babylonian empire. He took it all over. At this point, Cyrus gave himself the title King of Babylon, King of Summer, King of Akkad, King of the 4 corners of the world. Okay? It was not long after his monumental conquest that his beloved wife passed away. It was recorded he ordered for the empire to be in public mourning for his wife's passing. It states that they did that for 6 days. It was in the process of expansion that Cyrus came into conflict with, I don't know how to say that name, a nomadic people from the regions of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. Several accounts exist about the death of Cyrus. During a battle along the Sar-Daria River, only one account states he died in his sleep in the capital. So there is multiple accounts, but most say he died not in his sleep. This is Cyrus the Great's map. I want you again to watch Cyrus the Great's personal deployment. This was Cyrus in 559. This was Cyrus from 559 to 550. This was Cyrus from 550 to 530. He is growing his empire, yes or no? He conquered even parts of Egypt, well, the whole of Egypt and Libya today. But did he go past this line, yes or no, everyone? I want you to keep that line in mind. Yes or no? No, okay. At the age of 68 or 70-year-old, Cyrus of Persia passed on. His tomb is in the capital of, I don't know how to say that place, I'm sorry. And it's written on his tomb, "O man, whoever you are, wherever you came from, for I know you will come. I am Cyrus who won the Persians their empire. Do not therefore begrudge me this bit of earth that covers my bones." So now, unlike Alexander, this is the boring part, we'll pass this. Unlike Alexander, his life was not taken into the realm of fantastic stories. Rather, his legacy would be that he had an impact on the political structure of the Persian empires to come. What was his impact? As you said, this person who conquered the Persian Empire, he did not pass this line here. Remember this line? The one thing that he did was he allowed the Jews to come back to Israel. What did he do, everyone? He allowed the Jews to come back to Israel because the Jews were thrown out how many times? How many times? Quran says it. What surah does the Quran talk about this? Could you do me a favor, bro? In my office, in my bag has my charger. I'll need the charger. Ask for the charger and the extension cord if possible. Bani Israel, what does it say? لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. The Quran is talking about this. If I went into history, you guys would be sleeping right now. Quran says, we have decreed that Bani Israel will do tufsidunna. Remember the word fasad? Fasad, I told you, remember the word fasad. La tufsidunna fil ardi marratayn. What does marratayn mean? Twice. Wa la ta'lunna uluwan kabira. Sarkashi jisko kehte hain. You're going to go over your heads. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا. When the first time will come, بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ. The first time came, and he took you guys out. He killed you. He exiled you. He destroyed your city. وَكَانَ وَعْدًا مَفْعُولًا happened. Then the second time came, and we took them out again, we exiled them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ لِيَسُوءُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ كَمَا دَخَلُوهُ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَلِيُتَبِّرُوا مَا عَلَوْا تَتْبِيرًا. Read the translation of the first page of Bani Israel. The whole history is right there. Cyrus actually returned the Jews to Israel, to Zion, and he rebuilt the temple. How many of us have seen Masjid Aqsa in person? How many of us have seen a picture of Masjid Aqsa? How many of us know that's not the Masjid Aqsa that Sulaiman alayhi salam built? That's not Masjid Aqsa. That Masjid Aqsa that Sulaiman alayhi salam built, Allah said He destroyed it. Then what happened? It was destroyed again. And guess what? It's going to be destroyed once more. It's going to be destroyed once more. It was the one built after Cyrus. Cyrus is the first. We'll go through that inshallah. It is said that during his conquest of Babylon, he freed the Israelite exiles. Israelites were conquered and entered into slavery for 500 to 600 years. The Babylonian king who conquered them, who is he, everyone? Thank you. Nebuchadnezzar II. He destroyed the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salam. He's the one who destroyed the temple. Cyrus is shown making a decree for the Israelites to return. Today, in Israel, King Cyrus is now who? I'm not going to say it. Who has given back to the Jews their place? Read the newspaper if you don't want to, if you don't want to believe me. What just happened there? If you don't know your history, you don't know your future. Why is Cyrus the king and this person being called Cyrus the Great? Why is there so much tension in the region? What is the real story, brothers and sisters? Our Quran is telling us, but we don't want to know. We just want to pray and go home, right? So we do good. Hopefully I get my charger before this dies. I don't want this to die. Inshallah, bismillah, bismillah. We are at 6 minutes. So, as you try to digest what I just said, Cyrus' cylinder states that Cyrus had returned people displaced by Babylonian occupation to make their homeland. In the Old Testament, the book of Isaiah, Cyrus is mentioned as the anointed person by God, making him the only Gentile with such a title in the whole of the Bible. And later on it says, I will raise up Cyrus in my righteousness. I will make all his ways straight. He will rebuild my city and set my exiles free, but not for a piece of reward, says the Lord Almighty. The text says something, brothers and sisters. The text says something, but it's a manipulation of the text that's happening right now. The Quran cannot be changed, yes or no? But guess what will change the Quran? The translation. The current translation of the Quran is actually changing the concept of the Quran. Remember my words. The Quran will never go wrong. The people who are going into translation, they have lost the essence, and I just lost it. Bismillah. So, the people who are actually manipulating the text have successfully changed the Quran. Arabic is so deep. One word can have 50 meanings. How many, everyone? 50 meanings. There's a reason why we're scholars. And I'm not saying this with pride. We have to master 15 sciences before we touch the Quran and Hadith. In my 10 years of studies, we never touched the Quran tafsir, the tarjuma, until the last 2 years of our studies. You know what we were doing the first 8 years? mastering 15 sciences to see the Quran in the light of the Quran. Today, no one does that. Imam, could you teach tafsir class? What are you going to get from tafsir class? If you don't understand the actual, is it up? Oh, Alhamdulillah. The actual thing the Quran is saying. Let me tell you a quick story. I was in Chicago in '97, I think it was, and I was sitting down to eat with an African American brother during Ramadan. He was a convert, and we're sitting eating, and he's sitting there eating with his left hand. So I'm just looking at him, and he's looking at me because I'm eating with my right hand, and I'm a lefty, so sometimes I do touch my left. So I said to him, bro, if you don't mind me asking, why are you eating with your left hand? He goes, I was going to ask you why you're eating with your right hand. Excuse me. So I said to him, because the Prophet ate with his right hand. He goes, no, he didn't. He ate with his left hand. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm studying right now. I'm not going to say, I'm like, are you sure? He goes, it's in the hadith. I said, bring the hadith to me. I'd love to see it. So he brought to me the hadith book. I think it was Riyadh al-Salihin. The Arabi portion says, don't eat, it says, eat and drink with your right hand, for verily shaitan eats and drinks with his left hand. That's what the hadith says. But you know what the translation says? Eat and drink with your left hand, because shaitan eats and drinks with his right hand. And for a person who doesn't know the Arabic, he's like, hey, this is what the hadith says. Our deen is being manipulated through translation, not the text. If you understand the density of this text, you will be so appreciative. So what's happening is, Cyrus is known for actually helping Bani Israel. Don't look down on Bani Israel. The whole Quran speaks about them, that they were brought back. But the Quran talks about them in all aspects. You know why? Because they are our brothers in faith, and when we talk about our house affairs, we should know about it. When Allah tells Bani Israel off, He's telling us and telling them, fix and don't replicate what they did. So regarding Cyrus, we find that this person was a great human. However, he cannot be Dhul-Qarnayn because of a certain point, and that is his reach. He didn't reach where he was supposed to reach. Okay? Now, we talked about Bani Israel, so this was a verse in the Quran. Allah said, we have conveyed to the children of Israel in the scripture that you will cause corruption on the earth. How many times, everyone? Twice. وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. And you will reach a degree of haughtiness. You're going to be high, big-headed. The Jews were exiled according to the Quran. How many times? Tell me. Twice. Now, what are those times? When were those times? What happened? According to Tafsir ibn Kathir, a detailed description of Bani Israel falling into rebellion twice. Okay? The first one, as Allah says, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ. Allah saying, عِبَادًا لَنَا. When we sent upon you, when the first moment came, وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا, the first of the two, we sent upon you our servants who have strong aggressive power and who comb through your houses. Here the men with strong aggressive power are Nebuchadnezzar and his troops. They killed 40,000 to 70,000 of the Bani Israel from Bayt al-Maqdis. They took 100,000 of them like a flock of sheep to Babylon. And the Quran says, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمُ الْقَرَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. We gave you your turn to overpower them. When Cyrus came, they came back. Right? This event transpired at the hands of King Chorus, basically. He confronted Nebuchadnezzar. He secured the release of Bani Israel that were held as captives. He returned them back to Palestine. They resettled. They repopulated. They built Bayt al-Maqdis in the city again because it was ransacked. It was gone. They were not allowed to come back. This happened at the time before Isa alayhi salam. Is everyone with me? This happened before the time of Isa alayhi salam. Now, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ When the final promise came, we sent your enemies to sadden your faces and to enter the temple in Jerusalem. What's the name of the temple? Masjid Aqsa, also known as the Temple of Solomon. The reason it's called the Temple of Solomon is because David, peace be upon him, made the capital of the world Jerusalem, and Suleiman made the capital building, which is the Temple of Masjid Aqsa. And the second time came, they entered Jerusalem and they destroyed you with total destruction. Let's put the timeline together. In the entire history till now, this happened 6 times. How many times, everyone? 6 times. This happened after after Sulaiman died. The ruler of Bayt al-Maqdis became irreligious and corrupt. Egypt attacked it, took away the gold and silver. Did you know Bayt al-Maqdis had gold and silver? Did you know Masjid Aqsa was gold and silver? Yes or no? Masjid Aqsa was only gold, silver, gems and rubies. Okay? This guy came and took it away, but he did not demolish the city or the masjid. Could this have been this time? No. This is not the 2 times. In the entire history, there's 6 times, but we're looking for the 2 times. Are you all with me? The 2 times. So this cannot be the first. The second happened 400 years after that. Some of the Jews who had settled in Bayt al-Maqdis started worshipping idols. So this brought upon another Egyptian ruler who, affected them with trials, but he didn't do a great destruction, so I say that was not the time either. The third time happened when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, ransacked Bayt al-Masjid. He conquered the city, looted the property. Remember, looted the property. It was everything there. He took back a lot of people as prisoners of war. When he left, he had a member of his family, of the foreign king, appointed as a ruler of the city. Is that the time? Is that the time? Not yet. Nebuchadnezzar is there, but not yet. Now look at the next one. When the new king, who worshipped idols and was corrupt, so Nebuchadnezzar took the city over, gave it to someone, said, you take care, I'm going back. Okay? Now when the next person came up, he started worshipping idols and he rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar returned. Because you're messing with me? I'm going to show you. He came back, he killed the people, he destroyed property en masse, in large. He just destroyed the whole city down. This happened 415 years after the construction of the masjid. After that, the Jews were in Babylon in exile, and they lived in disgrace for 70 years. After that, the king of Iran attacked the king of Babylon and conquered it when the king of Iran showed mercy to the Jewish expatriates and ordered them to be sent to Syria along with the things looted. Now the Jews have repented and they have resettled and started building Masjid Aqsa. This was the first. Everyone's with me? This is the first. There was a 5th event. The Jews had peace and prosperity again. The first thing they forgot was their past. So they returned to the evil deeds. This happened 170 years before Isa Islam. How many? 170 years before Isa Islam. So Antioch, which is the king of Antioch, he attacked them, killed 40,000 of them, took 40,000 as prisoners and slaves. But the mosque structure remained safe. Quran said what? Demolish. What did he do? He kept it safe. So after that, Masjid Aqsa came under the authority of Roman kings. So Masjid Aqsa was put in the rule of Roman kings. They put the masjid into some shape 80 years after Isa Islam was born. So no, this is not it. Now, when the Jews are in exile, remember this. Jews are where? In exile. The second time, Jesus came. And Jesus was supposed to be the Messiah. But the Jews didn't accept him. You know why? Because Isa did not make it a priority to give the land back to the people the way they wanted it. He didn't say, okay guys, push these guys aside. Come on Jews, this is your home. He didn't do it in the way they wanted it. So they said, this child is the B word, which I could say in the masjid because it's in the dictionary, but I will not say it, because his mom had illegitimate relationship and this child was born. This was their excuse. But he was the response for them to come back, but they did not accept him. Then came Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they said, this might be the guy. But the one thing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't do was give them back the land. This land history has far more implications than the current 68 or 48 Israel-Palestine conflict. Brothers and sisters, crazy are you that you get caught up in this and not know the history of this world. This is a world history. This is not local current history. If you're not for Palestine, you're a bad person. If you're pro-Israel, you're a Zionist. Brothers and sisters, look at the history the Quran and the Sunnah is giving you. Ibn Kathir covered this for a reason. So what happened was the Romans destroyed the city 40 years after Isa was taken up. 40 years after Isa was taken up, the Jews chose to rebel against their Roman rulers. The Romans then in return destroyed the city and the mosque. And they relegated it to what it was. The king at that time was called King Titus, who was neither Jewish nor Christian. From that time till the time of Umar ibn Khattab, it stayed desolated. Who went and got the keys of Aqsa? Tell me fast. Umar bin Khattab. Umar bin Khattab and his servant on a donkey went from Medina to get the keys of Aqsa. We read that story. You don't even know what it's about. Understand, the first downfall was the Persian Empire destroyed Jerusalem. Cyrus brought the Jews back and rebuilt it for them. That's why Cyrus the Great is known to the Jews as someone of good stature. Then the Romans came and took over. Jesus came and then the Romans crucified or whatever, Jesus, whatever happened. And then 40 years after that, when the Jews rebelled, the Romans killed and destroyed everything. And nothing happened until after Rasulullah when Umar ibn Khattab got the keys. You could say that was the creation of Palestine then. You could say. But the Palestinian land in the Israeli land is a land of historical, biblical, Quranic significance. It served as a measure for you and I to know that this world is going in a direction. Just as your gas serves a measure how many more miles you could drive before you're stuck on the road. And if you don't have AAA membership, have a good day. It's a measure. The water of this water of the Sea of Galilee is a measure. When Rasulullah said, Gog and Magog will say, the last one will say, there once was water here, and the water is going down, means Gog and Magog are out. And when the last one comes out, and everything is done, the water will be gone also. It's a measure. It's a measure. It's a gauge. So, Umar ibn Khattab on 637 traveled to Jerusalem with his donkey and with his servant. And when they entered Jerusalem, see what happens? The servant said, Umar, you sit. Umar said, you sit. So what they agreed was Yasin. Yasin would be read and they would change. And they would change. And when they entered, the servant was on the donkey and Umar bin Khattab was holding the donkey. So they thought, okay, the person coming to get the keys of Jerusalem is on the donkey when Umar bin Khattab was holding the donkey. At that time, they gave them the keys of Masjid Aqsa. And they said, pray in our church because the mosque is desolated. What did Umar bin Khattab say? No. Because, and remember, these words are not out of the air. They have significance. Because tomorrow people may say, Umar prayed here, so this belongs to the Muslims. What is he trying to say? That the time will come where the lines will become blurred, where they will use a justification of an ancient historical act to say this is ours. Do you know where I'm going? I'm not going to say it clearly. They're going to say this belongs to us. Umar bin Khattab is speaking wisdom. They're spitting out the jewels of wisdom, but we can't get it. So then what happened? Crusades. Remember the Crusades? Go through the Crusades. The Crusades is where of course, the land was then taken. The Crusades were the result of the Pope wanting to get back the Holy Land with Jerusalem and its surrounding biblical historical sites. That had been taken over by the Muslims in their conquest, and now they were wanted back by the Christians. There were 4 crusades. How many, everyone? 4 major crusades on Masjid Aqsa and Jerusalem. The war in that place has been ongoing forever. The reason why the Jews never accepted, we talked about that, and then after that, what happened is the Jews recaptured the area after the so-called 6-day war. When did that happen, everyone? 67 was when the 6-day war happened and the Jews took over. And that started the return of the Jews back to Jerusalem. And I always tell people, if you watch TV in the 80s, TV used to shut around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, right? You see those colored lines, the rainbow color. Because TV starts back 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning with the national anthem, and then TV starts. It wasn't 24-hour news or ESPN Sports Center. It was done. But when they had those late night commercials, they used to have a commercial that I'll never forget. Support your fellow Jewish brethren to come back home. Support and donate for your Jewish brethren to come back home. Allah said that they would have done fitna how many times? Fasad how many times? Twice. We learned the 2 times, yes or no? Allah then said in Surah Bani Israel, same page, I'm not going anywhere. Asa rabbukum ayyarhamakum. Allah may have mercy on you once more. Once more. Allah may have mercy on you one more time. That you can come back. وَإِنْ عُدْتُمْ عُدْنَا. But if you come back and you go back to your mischief, we're going to come back with our power. Who's saying that? Allah. وَإِنْ عُدْتُمْ عُدْنَا. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you guys something? Linguistically? In udtum udna. Read it backwards. وَإِنْ عُدْتُمْ عُدْنَا. I'll write it up for you. Keep it in mind. It's not the same. It's not the same. Just read it backwards. I want to read you this one lengthy hadith before we talk about the Babylonian Empire. Read this hadith and listen to it carefully. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu says that he asked the Prophet ﷺ about Baytul Maqdis. Was if Baytul Maqdis is the greatest masjid in Allah's sight. He said that it was the most distinct house of worship in the world, the greatest of all houses, which Allah made for Sulaiman, the son of Dawood, alayhim as-salam. Read the hadith, everyone, listen carefully. With gold, silver, and precious stones like ruby and emerald. The manner in which this happened was, when Sulaiman started its construction, Allah made the jinn subservient to him. The jinn collected the gold, silver, and precious stones and used it in the making of the masjid. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu says that he then asked as to where and how did all that gold, silver, and precious stones go from Baytul Maqdis. Are you with me? Remember the first time when the Jews came back from Babylon, they brought the gold back. The second time, the Romans, who? Read loudly, who? Romans conquered. We got it back, but we didn't get the wealth back. So just stay with me on this. The Prophet ﷺ, he asked him, where did all that gold, silver, and precious stones go from Baytul Maqdis? The Prophet ﷺ said, when Bani Israel disobeyed Allah, got involved in sin and misdeeds and killed their noble prophets, Allah sent King Nebuchadnezzar on them. He was a fire worshipper and ruled Baytul Maqdis for 700 years. Quran says, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ. The same verse. When the first So when came the time appointed for the first of the two, we sent upon them servants belonging to us, having strong aggressive power. It means this event. The army of Nebuchadnezzar entered the masjid of Quds, killed the men, took the women and children prisoners, carried away with him the gold, silver, and everything and valuable belonging to Bayt al-Maqdis, loaded it on 170,000 vehicles. How many, everyone? 170,000 vehicles. He kept the treasure in his country, Babylon, and kept the children of Israel as his slaves and servants for 100 years, making them do hard labor in utter disgrace. Then Allah made a king from amongst the kings of Persia to come stand up against him. Who was that? Cyrus the Great. He conquered Babylon, freed the remnants of Bani Israel from the bondage of Nebuchadnezzar, made arrangements to have all the valuables brought from Bayt al-Maqdis back to Masjid al-Aqsa. Then he sternly told Bani Israel they should in future not return, that should they in future return to disobedience and sin, Allah will return to punishment and imprisoning them. That is what the verse says. Asa rabbukum ayarhamakum in udtum udna. Later, Bani Israel went to Bani Israel. They went through the same thing, went back to the same life of sins and misdeeds. Allah sent a Roman emperor. Who, everyone? Roman emperor, Caesar, upon them. This is what it says. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ. When the second time came, what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Roman emperor. He launched a two-pronged attack from the land and the sea. He killed many, and many were then taken prisoners. He had all the wealth of Bayt al-Maqdis loaded on 170,000 vehicles and took it home. He took it where, everyone? Home. Where's Rome, everyone? Rome is where? Where? I don't hear you. Italy. What's in Rome? And did you know Vatican is the smallest country in the world? Vatican is a country of its own. If the Prophet ﷺ is saying that he took it home, we need to know where it's home. Okay? Then he had it deposited in the temple of gold. This wealth is still there. It will remain there until Mahdi will come, who will bring it back to Maqdis on 170,000 of his vessels. It will be then at a place where Allah has assembled everyone, former and latter. This is in Tafsir Ma'arif al-Quran. Did the Prophet ﷺ speak the truth, yes or no? How come we don't know the truth? Rome, the Vatican, is what we call the manipulation of the Christian faith. They are right now muddled in pedophilia, prostitution, money laundering. It's not Islam. It's not Christianity. Just as ISIS and Al-Qaeda are not Islamic. You have to manipulate religion in order to give way for the power. You see, one was that you conquered. Back in the days, they conquered. Now they just manipulate. They call it a wolf in sheep's skin. It's a very unique process. The Babylonian Empire is right in front of you. This was known as the Babylonian Empire. It stretched like a horseshoe from Iraq, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Kuwait, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, into Jerusalem. This was known as the Babylonian Empire. So, I believe, based on my research, that in the Vatican there's 1,400 rooms. These are all facts about the Vatican. Vatican Museum contains one of the largest art collections in the world with over 9 miles of pieces. How many miles of pieces? 9 miles of pieces, which could wrap 4.5 times around the Vatican walls. Its 1,400 rooms, chapels, and galleries constitute former wings of the Vatican Palace. Vatican is its own country, established in 1929, February 11th. Vatican history is at the seat of the Catholic Church, which began the construction of the Basilica over St. Peter's grave in Rome in the 4th century after Jesus' death, according to AD. The Vatican necropolis lies under the Vatican City. There is a city under the city, at a depth of 5 to 12 meters below St. Peter's Basilica. The Vatican sponsored archaeological excavations under St. Peter's in the years 1940 to 1949 revealed parts of necropolis dating to imperial times. So if you can find another place, I feel that's exactly what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about. It's there. And Isa is some time when they will rebuild Masjid Aqsa. Look, I'm not against Aqsa. I'm not in politics in this aspect. I don't talk about this issue. But one thing I know, the current Masjid Aqsa is going to fall. And one thing I know, the third temple of Solomon will be built. And one thing I know is when the temple of Solomon the third will be built, Dajjal will come. And then when Dajjal will be destroyed, Masjid Aqsa will be rebuilt a third time. You know what's holding Masjid Aqsa up right now? Deeds. You know what's going to destroy Masjid Aqsa? When we stop our deeds. The greatest force that we have right now is our Quran and prayer. How can I explain Quran to a person who doesn't want to pray on time? Your prayer is actually upholding the world. And it's upholding your safety in that world. Your Surah Kahf every Friday is protecting Aqsa. You care about Aqsa? Don't go to Washington and protest and miss your Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. Spend the $800 for your ticket and hotel, give it in sadaqah, and sit down and read Surah Kahf. Allah has given us the history of how the world runs. Sunnat Allah allati qad khalat min qabl. Allah's sunnah has been moving from before. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. Allah's sunnah will not change. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ. What's the second one? Hafizah? Who's Hafiz here? Huh? Allah used two words. Allah, you will not find anyone who will change or alter Allah's sunnah. It is what it is, brothers and sisters. So, I believe Dhul-Qarnayn has to be a monotheist. Do you agree? Yes or no? He has to not be an idol worshipper, and he cannot be the Cyrus because, and I'll explain to you why. This man has to be monotheist, religious, God-fearing person that the people had turned to him because they needed help. Yes or no? He was different. So remember, the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the three type of people. One was about Dhul-Qarnayn in Surah Kahf. Who he can be according to Tafsir ibn Kathir. His name is Abu Bakr ibn Samma ibn Umar ibn Ifraqis al-Himyari. This is a person who conquered the east and the west of the earth. Tubba al-Himyari al-Yamani has shown pride in his poetry of his grandfather Dhul-Qarnayn. He says about his grandfather, Dhul-Qarnayn, my grandfather, was a believing Muslim, a king who conquered the non-believing earth. He reached the east and the west seeking means of power for the noble master. This man isn't the two that we're talking about. He's a different man. Abu Hayyan has reported this narrative in Al-Bahr al-Muhit. Ibn Kathir has mentioned this in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. Ibn Kathir adds that Dhul-Qarnayn is the first Tubba, the title of the king of Yaman. He was the first of the Tabiba, the plural of Tubba, of Yaman, and this is the same person who had ruled in favor of Sayyidina Ibrahim in the case of Bi'r Sa'd, the seven wells. In all these narratives, irrespective of the difference regarding the elements of his identity, his time period has been identified as the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This man, Dhul-Qarnayn, from the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Are you understanding? From the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. What did he do? What was his contribution was the wall. Remember I told you that verse? He came between the paths of two mountains. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ بَيْنَ السَّدَّيْنِ. Between the paths of two mountains. He found beside them a people who could hardly understand speech. Now you go back to that area and that region, which I'll show you right now, and talk about speech and unliteracy. There was a unique group of people there. They said, O Dhul-Qarnayn, Ya'juj and Ma'juj are corruptors in the land. Can we give you some tribute, some money, that you could make a barrier? He said, my Allah has given me more. Assist me with strength. I will make for you this dam. this dam. Bring me sheets of iron. He brought iron. He leveled it between the two mountain walls. He said, blow it with your bellows. And then the fire came. And he said, bring and pour over it malted copper. So Gog and Magog were unable to pass over it, and they were not able to effectively penetrate it. Remember, the people had asked him to punish them. He didn't punish. Because the nobility of prophets and religious people and pious people, they don't punish people. This is the trait of tyrants, big-headed, haughty rulers. Remember when he was in the Maghrib al-Shams? They said, punish them. He said, أَمَّا مَنْ ظَلَمَ فَسَوْفَ نُعَذِّبُهُ ثُمَّ يُرَدُّ إِلَى رَبِّهِ فَيُعَذِّبُ عَذَابًا نُكْرًا. We can punish them, and they'll go back to Allah, and Allah will punish them more. وَأَمَّا مَنْ آمَنَ, but if they bring faith, and they do good deeds, they'll get reward. So he didn't punish them. The Quran shied away from clearly describing and defining him. The Quran did not tell us about Dhul-Qarnayn. Why? Because he is not the story that we need to know about. What he did is the story we need to know about. Quran didn't tell us if the doors that Yusuf a.s. ran through were handles on the right side or the left side. Were they oak or mahogany? The Quran doesn't need to tell you that. Quran needs you to know that he penetrated these doors when Zulaykha was trying to seduce him, because Allah is on your side when you run from evil. Don't get caught up in the intricacies. Here I broke down each verse of the Quran, and I'm going to actually go away from it because we've been talking about it. That he came to the murky side water, he came to a place where there was no shield. Where is this place? Does anyone know where this place is? Maghrib al-Shams, Matli' al-Shams. Where is it? According to many different scholars and historians, one of these five is what people say. The Great Wall of China, a wall in Central Asia near Bukhara, in Tirmidh, because Imam Bukhari and Imam Tirmidhi are from that area, a wall in Dagestan, Russia, and a wall in the westerly direction in the third region of the Caucasus. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole breakdown of how it cannot be this one or that one or that one, but basically, most historians believe it was either 3 or 4. But after all that is said and done, Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri rahimahullah, who is a great scholar and historian, he holds the opinion that Dhul-Qarnayn had walled them off in the region of the Caucasus. Now, I want you to look at this map now. Here in front of you is the Caucasus. On this side is called the murky, what did I just do? On this side is called the murky water. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ مَغْرِبَ الشَّمْسِ. He went to the westerly side. He saw the sun setting in murky water. What's the name of the sea, everyone? Thank you. And then he went to the eastern side. He saw the sun rising and there was no cover. You see this greenery here and this brown. These are called mountainous regions. Do you see anything on this side? Do you see anything? It's clear, straight land. So the sun rose without any cover. The sun rose from the horizon, you could see it. There was no mountain path. If you're in Medina Munawwara, the sun literally comes out around 8 or 9. Like it'll come past the mountains. The light is out, the sun is up. But you'll see the sun pass the mountains later on in the day, right, in the morning. Here, the sun, you could see it as soon as it rose because there was nothing. لَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُمْ مِنْ دُونِهَا سِتْرًا. There was nothing preventing the sun from coming out. Now, if you look at the west from this direction, this is pointing west. This is called the Black Sea. And if you look at it from the east, this is the Caspian Sea. So if you look at حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس, the Black Sea is right there in the west. وإذا بلغ مطلع الشمس, this is the eastern side. It's called the Caspian Sea. What is it called? Caspian Sea. So he went to 2 ends of the earth. Doesn't mean 2 ends of the globe. Do you understand this? Because if I talk about 2 ends of the globe, tell me what those 2 ends are. Santa Claus to Happy Penguins? What is it? Right? What is the 2 ends? North Pole, South Pole? We cannot define 2 ends. It said the 2 ends of the earth, the 2 ends of that earth, not the 2 ends of the world. In between the two is called the Caucasus Mountains. What is this place called, everyone? The Caucasus Mountains. One is known as the North Caucasus, the Great Caucasus, and the other one. Now remember, Alexander the Great, where did he not go? He did not go to the Caucasus. And also, Cyrus did not go to the Caucasus. So, in Georgia, north of